for the recording, the debate proposition is on whether or not Islam is true. Of course, I'm going to be defending the proposition that Islam is true, and this low-tier scumbag piece of trash is going to be defending the negation. He's going to be making the claim that Islam is false, given his limited knowledge, and despite the fact that he has no sort of like scholarly credibility to even interpret or even understand the Quranic scriptures respectively, nor does he have any proper metaphysical justification for his dog water, intellectually bankrupt position, which we consider to be decent. With that being said, the argument for Islam being true is quite simple. Right? I think that if we look towards the evidence, I think that the evidence favors Islam being true, given the successful predictions that the Quran makes, and given the very fact that the Quran would predict divine simplicity being true, and the divine simplicity is actually true. I don't think views like Christianity, for example, and given their position, is going to be compatible with the position that it is the case that we have a self-sufficient being, because the sort of metaphysical commitments they have would actually be incompatible with that proposition. Now, I'm going to just repeat the argument one more time, and of course, it's going to be trivial evidence for the problem that Islam is true, right? So if God exists, then that's going to be trivial evidence for Islam to be true, and that's going to be evidence against this retard position of atheism. Do you grant that proposition being true or false? Yes or no, retard?
Sure.
Okay, so that means you agree that, of course, God exists and is evidence for my position and is evidence against their position, correct?
Sure, low-tier.
Wait, what are you guys debating?
Okay, so low-tier scumbag piece of trash. I'm going to want you to lock in the conversation. Just lock in, right? I'm going to post the arguments in the chat for why God exists, and I want you to object to one of the premises or the conclusion, right? And you can even question the validity of the argument. Okay, so just give me one moment. Let me just get the arguments, retard. Don't run away. Okay, so I found the argument. Let's just get this real quick. Okay, so I'm gonna post the argument in the side chat, retard. This is the argument in formal logic. Just formally speaking, formalized versions of the argument. That's gonna be like first order logic. Can you read it, retard?
Continue, please.
I'll just post the argument in natural language, but that's just like first order logic, by the way. Of course, it's just going to be saying that informational structural realism is going to be something which implies that for anything X is going to be the type of thing which has first order semantical properties or conceptual conditions, which would entail its existence. Premise 2 is going to be stating that informational structural realism model of meta-ontology is correct. And then the conclusion of the first part of the argument is just to say that with first order conceptual or semantical conditions necessarily exists, retard. Now, premise 3 just states that for anything with first order semantical, stop talking, retard, still talking, I'm going to give the argument, right? Premise 3. For anything with first order semantical or conceptual conditions, it exists either as just a mere concept or something more than just a mere concept. Premise 4. God has first order semantical or conceptual conditions. Conclusion 2. God exists either as a mere concept or as something more than just a mere concept. Premise 5. God either exists as a mere concept or something more than just a mere concept. Premise 6. Logically impossible for God to exist as a concept, just merely. Conclusion. God exists mind independently. Of course, the last part of the argument utilizes a disjunction introduction and then a modustal independence, which is just going to be disjunctive elimination or disjunctive syllogism, sorry, as a means of demonstrating why God exists objectively. Now, tell me, retard, which part of the argument do you reject? Don't be autistic. Just lock it.
Yeah, P1 and P2. Yeah, P1 and P2 because they're left unsubstituted.
P1 and P2?
I'm just gonna run, bro. I'm just gonna run here, bro.
Okay, so I'll give the argument for P1 and P2, retard. So P1, right, the evidence for P1 being true is just going to be the idea that my position when I define informational structure realism, I'm defining that to be the position that what fundamentally exists or what fundamental determines existence is just going to be information. And I take information to be identical to semantical or conceptual conditions. My definition of information is not going to be the definition used in information theory. My definition is going to be something distinct from the semantics employed in information theory, which is just to say that something is informative or something is informational, just in case it is the case that there's some semantical or conceptual content. Any objections? Dumb fuck. Did you leave? He left.
Well, that's embarrassing.
That's insane. That's insane. The retard actually left. So much trash talk that when I just started to lock in and I pulled up with the argument, he ran away like a twisted. That's crazy. If someone in this report, this guy's retarded.
The guy's trash.